Welcome back. Beijing is now considering official trade talks with the United States, but it is requesting Washington cancel the unilateral tariff measures first. These tariffs have already taken a toll on Chinese goods. April manufacturing activity in China seeing its sharpest downturn in more than a year. And now the CCP is quietly exempting about a quarter of U.S. imports from tariffs, giving a little olive branch to the U.S. I spoke with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent about it all yesterday. He said China's economy is in big trouble if they do not negotiate with the U.S. Watch.
I think first there will need to be a de-escalation on these very large tariffs. 145 and 125 are not sustainable on the Chinese side. We saw some very poor GDP numbers out of them. Out of China yesterday. We're now seeing very large estimates of job growth loss from 5 to 10 million jobs. So the Chinese economy is slowing down substantially here. So we will likely revisit the purchase agreements that were put together in the first China trade agreement in January of 2020 to make sure that the Chinese are honoring those agreements. And then we are going to push for fair trade with China.
Joining me now is O'Leary Ventures Chairman Kevin O'Leary. Kevin, great to have you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. And I love the fact that you are a China hawk, as I am, because I've seen, all of the bad behavior. I don't think they're going to be floating a surveillance balloon so quickly now with what's going on. But they have been quietly exempting about a quarter of imports, U.S. imports, from tariffs. Bloomberg reports that those exempted products include 131 items like pharmaceuticals, industrial chemicals. It's seen as a strategic effort to match Washington's actions in a goodwill way. Kevin, what do you think?
We're at the beginning of a negotiation, but it's, as I've said countless times now, tariffs with China, that's just one item that has to be dealt with. This is now time to call them into account for all the other breaches they've had for decades with the World Trade Organization and also with our IP laws in the U.S. No access to their courts. They have access to our capital markets. We don't have it there. We're forced to do into partnerships in China. We don't force them to do that here. There's so many different levels to fix on this. So I'm very encouraged, as the market is, obviously, that we have this narrative going on and that there is the beginning of a negotiation. But this China deal, Maria, is so different than the rest of the world. It's time to hold them accountable and give them consequences for not playing by the rules. If they want to play with the big boy and the U.S. and become the G8, essentially, they got to play by the rules. And now it's time to say, look, it's not enough just to have these reciprocal tariffs worked out. We need you to play by the rules. And I think we'll get there with them.
Yeah. And by the way, they have made so much progress in their own advancements, and innovation, largely because they stole it, right? I mean, the intellectual property theft has been going on decades, costing hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to American companies. That's just that in some ways is the small potatoes, because then you've got fentanyl, COVID, and the COVID cover-up, surveillance, and they are, picking it up in terms of surveillance. But as I said, I doubt you're going to see another surveillance balloon coming in, surveilling our military installations while this is all going on. And don't forget the hacking into all of our telecom infrastructure, Kevin. But I want to talk about TikTok. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. There's a pattern, though, Maria, that with China you should be aware of, particularly innovation in America. When a product or service is actually created here and people spend hundreds of millions in R&D, when it hits a $5 million run rate, it gets knocked off. I testified at the Senate a few weeks ago. I used an example of a very simple product called DrainWig, which is an innovation in America to help hotel owners reduce plumbing costs by catching hair in drains. It's so simple, but it's a patented product.
Right.
40 knockoffs, 40 knockoffs.
Right.
Put the company out of business.
That's right.
We got to stop this. Yeah.
Yeah. I had lunch with a friend who was a Chinese national, and she said, "Patents? Come on, what are patents? Nobody has patents." I said, "Yes, we do." I mean, they don't take it seriously. Look, I'm well aware of it. Years ago, I shared with our audience what John Ratcliffe told me a long time ago, and it's very simple, and this is what it is. This is China's MO. Rob, replicate, replace. Period. Rob, replicate, replace. And that's what they're doing. They rob the information, they replicate the product and the service, and then they come up with another company to replace that American company. And you know who's well aware of it? President Donald J. Trump. And he's not going to handle it anymore. He's not going to allow it. But the clock is ticking on TikTok. You've speculated that there will not be a third ban extension. What is the latest you're hearing? You've wanted to acquire this company. Tell us about it.
Well, there's at least 3 syndicates that want to acquire the company, but we now believe there will not be a third extension because I think attorneys generals in various states are getting restless. That we are in breach of the law right now in providing the service. The penalties are $5,000 a day times 172 million accounts. That's about $800 billion annually. So it's time. But it's gotten woven into the trade talks. It looks like it's a bargaining chip. This is a company with a golden share, as many people have figured out what that is. That means Xi only can decide. So it's not really worth discussing it with ByteDance. They don't have a say. Only the Chinese party. And there's many other companies like that, by the way. So people are waking up to the fact that companies really aren't the same in China as they are in other countries. You got to work it out with the supreme leader. So my speculation now, and this is sheerly speculation because nobody knows, is that it may go dark on June 8th and still be available to purchase as part of a negotiation. Remember, this company did go dark once already, and it was only for 24 hours, but it could happen again for a few weeks. However, Maria, there's another scenario where it simply gets turned off, just like in India in 2020. And basically then people worried about it for 5 days and then they forgot about it. So I think TikTok's in a precarious place. We don't know what's going to happen. And we are waiting for instruction from either the White House, ultimately with Xi. But now there's a discussion going on, maybe TikTok. But here's what I fear, and I think others have the same concern. Where in the pecking order of issues with China does TikTok sit? I think it's at the bottom. I don't think Xi gives a you-know-what, and I'm not sure Trump gives a damn either. And so it may just get caught up, the classic baby in the bathwater gets thrown out, because I don't think it's that big a deal anymore. And I think there's a high probability, could be 50-50. It just turns out, lights out for TikTok.
You're right. No, look, they've already come up with an alternative. What is it, Red Note or something like that in China?
Yeah, Red Note. Yeah, Red Note, it breaches the law as well. That thing can't be allowed to grow like a mushroom because it has servers in China. The law covers for any foreign adversary spying on Americans, and that's what Red Note does.
Yeah, absolutely. They're spying on Americans through a lot of ways, including their surveillance cameras. Have you checked your alarm service lately? Are those cameras that are at your house Chinese? Maybe you should check. Then there's, of course, I think the #1 priority is Taiwan. And they want to know what kind of military muscle we have here, just in case the U.S. gets involved in their, reunification of Taiwan. But look, I want to talk to you about domestic issues as well. And this is very domestic because of the impact on the U.S. But you feel strongly about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's potential 2028 presidential run, don't you? You say she may be better at something else. Watch this. Let's look.
I think she's the best marketeer in politics. I buy her T-shirts. I gift them, the Tax the Rich T-shirts. I love them. She makes 82% margin on them, which I think shows you that inside of every socialist is a capitalist trying to get out. Now, would she destroy America? Absolutely. There's no chance she'll ever be president. I don't agree with anything she says, but I love her social media. She's a crazy chicken. She raises $5 and $20 at a time. She's a terrible manager. Her district is a wasteland. Why would anybody want her running anything? But I love what she does on T-shirts. So maybe she should start a T-shirt company. That's what I'm thinking.
Were you half joking there? Start a T-shirt company?
No, I'm not joking. If you look at the best marketers right now, they're Elizabeth Warren and AOC because they raise money $5 at a time by saying outrageous things on social media and gathering dollars. And look, at the end of the day, you have to look at the results. If you're paying tax in her district, I don't know why you're voting for her. I mean, she's terrible at what she does in terms of managing, and I don't know why they keep voting her in. But look, if you want to live that way, go ahead. But that's not for me. I'll just buy the T-shirts.
Yeah, she didn't do her district any favors with the Amazon thing a couple of years ago, huh? Anyway, Kevin, what do we watch?
12,000 jobs.
Yeah,
12,000
exactly.
jobs moved to Carolina.
Yeah, out of New York. Kevin, good to see you. Thank you, sir. Kevin O'Leary
Take
here.
care.
Stay with us.